Iran now is a nuclear threshold state, and they cannot wait.
Now, Iran and the US have held a second round of high-stakes nuclear talks in Rome. Iranian state media say the talks were held in a constructive atmosphere, with a new round reported to take place next week. But it comes as hopes for de-escalation are tempered by mounting military threats and mixed messages. Seyed Hossein Mousavian is served on Iran's nuclear diplomacy team in negotiations with the EU and is currently a Middle East security and nuclear policy specialist at Princeton University. Hello to you, Seyed.
Hello. Good morning.
Well, good to have you with us. What are you hearing about this second round of talks?
I think there has been a good progress in the second round, because in the first round of negotiations in Oman last Saturday, actually both parties were focused on assessing each other, whether there is a goodwill, whether the other side is only for blaming or for a real deal. I think they had a good assessment after the first round. That's why they came to Rome to have the second round. The second round of the talks was also about principles of a possible agreement, a possible deal. To my understanding, this discussion also made good progress, because they decided, the technical teams and the expertise, they would begin negotiations on drafting the principles starting from coming Monday in Oman. If there has not been agreement on the principles, I believe they would not give mandate to the expertise to sit down and to prepare the draft.
So, I mean, at the heart of all of this, this is the US wanting to find a way of halting Iran's nuclear program because of the concern that it's just a few short steps away from actually producing a nuclear bomb. But of course, the US walked away and ripped up the previous deal, which meant that outside inspectors were able to keep tabs on the nuclear program in return for lifting sanctions. So what is your understanding about what's on the table in these talks?
I think there has been a good lesson from the previous violation of the deal, because although President Trump withdrew from the deal, imposed maximum pressures, maximum sanctions, and damaged Iran hundreds of billions of dollars, but the Iranians also in return increase the level and the capacity of the enrichment program. Now they have just 1 week to break out. I mean, because of the deal 2015 during President Obama, the breakout time was 1 year, and now is 1 week. Therefore, President Trump is in position either to go to a war or to make a peace with Iran. I am completely confident Trump is not after war, and he understands this war has much, much more negative consequences for the US compared to war on Iraq, war on Afghanistan. That's why he is after diplomacy, and he is going now to make a deal. But
when you talk about war, I mean, it is Israel that was threatening to strike on those Iranian nuclear sites, wasn't it? I don't think there's a sense, is there, or were you saying that you think that the US, if there is no deal, is actually prepared to get involved and bomb those nuclear sites itself?
No, to my understanding, even if there is no deal, President Trump is not going to go to war. He will continue sanctions and pressures. And Israel is threatening, but I believe they don't have capacity and capability to attack Iran without the US. And they are just bluffing, and they are making these threats in order to put pressure on the US, on the Iranian side, and to play with a possible peaceful deal. That's why, on your point also, I need to make a clarification. When American side is saying halting Iranian nuclear program. It doesn't mean halting peaceful nuclear program. It doesn't mean halting enrichment. They just want to make sure there would be no diversion toward weaponization. Here, they want to make they want to get enough assurances or objective guarantees from the Iranian side that their nuclear enrichment program would not divert toward weaponization. That's why I think they have agreed on a principles that Iran would go for maximum level of transparency measures to give every verification required by the IAEA. Also, I think Iranians, they would be ready to lower the level of enrichment from 60% to below 5% to give confidence to international community that Iran is not after nuclear bomb. All this is gonna happen or can happen if the US would be able to lift the sanctions.
But do you think the only reason that Iran has gone into these talks now is because of those threats, because of the threat from Israel that it was prepared to actually bomb these sites? And of course, we've seen Israel has managed to virtually destroy Hezbollah in Lebanon. We've seen a big change in Syria where Iranian proxies have again been defeated. Do you think Iran has been forced into these talks because of its weakness?
I don't believe so because Israel has been attacked by Iran by hundreds of missiles and drones. No other country during past decades have ever been able to think about attacking Israel, but Iranians, they attacked Israel with hundreds of drones and missiles. Israelis, they understand they cannot play with Iran. Yeah, about the Iranian allies or in the region, they can do in Lebanon or in Yemen, whatever they have been doing, but playing military game with Iran is very different. I think the reason Americans and Iranians are serious to make a deal is one reason for the Iranians is that they are really in difficult economic situation and they need a deal, the US to lift the sanctions. Why Americans also want a deal? Because Iran has just 1 week to break out. Iran now is a nuclear threshold state, and they cannot wait. They have to make a deal to bring back the Iranian breakout time from 1 week at least to some months, like 6 months. Otherwise, if they want to continue the game of pressures and sanctions, then Iran would become a nuclear state.
And just finally, then, I mean, what do you think of the chances of actually reaching an agreement from these talks?
I think the chance is 60% to my understanding. You cannot say 100% because when you go to details, it is extremely difficult. They have agreed that the technical teams, they will meet this coming Wednesday in Oman to negotiating the details of drafting the outline, the principles. And Steve Witkoff and Abbas Araghchi, they will meet next Saturday to review. If they agree on the draft of the principles, then in the fourth round of negotiations, they would go to details. It may take 1 or 2 months if they are really fast until perhaps the end of May, they can reach a deal. But if you ask me what is the chance, I would say 60%.
Seyed Hossein Mousavian, many thanks for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you very much. All the best.